Let me see. How can I say it?
Weren't you also divorced? I imagine that was a very pivotal point in your life.
Uh, yeah, but that doesn't. Okay, I'll put it this way. You just mentioned those, but as far as like a changing point in my life that hit me as hard as what I'm talking about, that didn't fall. Those didn't fall in that category.
Okay.
Because I guess it's. I'm not saying it didn't affect me in a big way, but for me, um, yeah, finding out the lie because it's a larger perspective that you see the whole world a different way. You see what I'm
Sure.
saying?
It
Okay,
fundamentally changed the way you think.
right. Okay, so then, all right. Okay, to make a long story short, okay, I was around people who had money. Then what I began to wonder is who controls the world? Who controls money? Because everyone is after money, money, money. All right, so I wonder
Right.
who's at the top of it. Who controls money? Who controls the world? Okay, so I did my research and I found out. All right, how the world works. That's what we try to say in my videos. Because if a person doesn't have their perspective and realize the reality of how the world actually works, then they're constantly deceived. They don't understand things. They limit their just like this thing with Mgtow. Okay, with Mgtow, things we talk about is true. Okay, but I think it comes a time where okay, you're talking about these women and you're talking about the mentality, but who deceived them and where is that coming from and why? Because it's all real. So do you want to know where it comes from? And why? Or you just want to sit around and complain about, the situation that we have? How can we change it? How can we, as men, continue to get out from under the deception that we've been under? Because a lot of us were deceived by women, things that we thought about women.
Sure.
So now we realize something different. It was, and so we had this big wake up. Yeah, and so why stop there? Because they're only a pawn. They don't know.
Well,
really...
I hear what you're saying. I think I've gone down the same kind of rabbit hole. So I called in right now because I wanted to make 2 points specifically about Kevin Samuels. Right? I wanted to debate you concerning Kevin Samuels. I essentially wanted to make the case. Number one, I wanted to talk about the width, the scope and width of his reach. That's the first point I wanted to make. I wanted to talk about how, in a way, even though he wasn't Mgtow, he was sort of pushing Mgtow ideas further and wider than anyone I can think of anyway. And I made a video talking all about this. And then the second thing I wanted to talk about is how I think
battery low.
Marriage. I was listening, so I was a little late, but right around like 8:55 p.m. My time, I clicked on your link and I've been listening to you. You were saying things like, oh, Kevin Samuels, he's teaching these women these things that are bad for families, and I think I disagree with that, and I think he's just very pragmatic. That's all, and I wanted to discuss that.
Let me just interject something. I was primarily saying that about the men. I think he teaches the men what's more destructive on their end.
Well, see, and I agree with that, and I think, but that's okay though. That was a good thing because unfortunately, I think that we're in a gender war. So I think that men and women are in a gender war that you could say the elites have fomented, and then the women have picked up. And so right now, women are sort of on the warpath against men. And, how can I put it? The men, they have to react in some way. I tell men that at the very least, they should be in a defensive position. But I go on to say that I think that men should take an offensive position. And that's what red pill or Mgtow is. We should be communicating with other men and essentially mobilizing a defense against what we see as what's going on? Women and them passing laws and them taking away increasingly men's freedom, and of course, giving themselves more and more money, more and more, money, power, essentially legislating themselves into a privileged class.
Okay, so are you saying that because there's a gender war and the government is pretty much behind women, that men should feel that they have the right to cheat, and if they're in a relationship with a woman?
Yes.
Really?
In fact, I'd go so far. I wouldn't even use the word cheat. I think you're onto something. It's like if this was a sailboat, men are being told to sail east, but you just turned the tide. You just pulled us. Yes. So.
Okay. Define cheat. What is cheat? When you say cheat, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, no, I was going to use an analogy of sailing, how you can take, if you want to go a certain direction, you can take a different tack, or it's called tacking. But I'll just get straight to the point. Basically, cheating is wrong, okay? And I think that Kevin Samuels knew that. I think that he didn't really like cheating. I think, however, we have to move beyond the idea of even cheating, and we have to see this again. I'll just say it again. I'll reiterate it again. We're in a gender war, so there's no cheating in war. There's no cheating. They say all's fair in love and war. When you're defeating an enemy, you're not cheating if you figured out a better way to defeat them.
Okay. All right. So
what I'm saying is, right now, there is no marriage. Marriage is completely out of the question for any man who has even one bone of self-preservation, one inkling of self-preservation in his body. We're in a gender war. Any man that gets married right now is a fool because of the laws. It's that simple. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, I'd like to. Okay, all right, because you made a few points. I want to chime in. All right, you said. Okay, I think in my opinion, you're using. You're reacting in two different contexts where I think it doesn't apply. Okay, you said we're in a gender war. All right, and so that
how about this? Let me lay out my case not in 10 or 20 seconds, but in like 60 seconds. I'm going to say a lot of different things, and then we can start from there. There's two major points that I wanted to make. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, okay. Let me just finish this because I thought you made a point, but you could do it again. But let me just say this real quick, okay?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think that you saying that we're in a gender war provides men or excuses men to be able to cheat in their marriages. All right, so I just think that if you're saying that, I think it's two different contexts, because you may not be in a gender war with your wife. You're in a marriage where you both made certain promises or commitments to one another. So I don't think that because society's in a gender war that married men should cheat on their wives. If that's what you're saying, I disagree with that. What's your case?
Okay, so to reiterate that, so ultimately at this point I can say I agree with you. You're Mr. Lundy. You're right. You're completely correct. At the end of the day, right? Men should not be cheating on their wives, and wives should not be cheating on their husbands. But guess what? They are doing that. Number one. Number two, when a man is found to be cheating on his wife, we still hold the man to account. For example, my father, I talk about it all the time. He was caught cheating, lost his house. He lost 2 multi-unit investment properties. He lost everything. He was completely, the court cleaned his clock completely. And sorry to say it, the court should have. Men should pay for cheating. I have no problem with that. My problem is when women are caught cheating, they're not held accountable. For example, I've said it 100 times. I'll say it again. My stepmother was caught cheating on my father. She never lost her house. She never suffered any punitive damages. And so there's this double standard. And this is the double standard that I'm talking about, where men are held to account. And if men mess up, we make them pay. But for some reason, and we know why, because the feminists have come in, they've changed all the laws. When a woman is caught engaging in some sort of, sexual impropriety, or whatever. It could be financial, anything. We let them off easy. So I'm sorry. So let me start by laying out my platform. So you wanted to talk about Kevin Samuels. There's two things I wanted to say. First, I wanted to talk about Kevin Samuels. Kevin Samuels, he was very, very good for the Mgtow community, the Red Pill community. Just the reach that he has was immense. In fact, I'm sorry to say this, I actually think that he may have been murdered. You know, when I think of, okay, besides Kevin Samuels, who was possibly the biggest? Okay, this is already old news. This is a couple of weeks ago. Mr. Lundy, have you ever heard of a gentleman by the name of TD Jakes? TD Jakes?
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, I don't know what you think of him, but you know, I like him more than I dislike him. A couple weeks ago, okay, he made a video, and he finally came out against what you could call women, and he was saying a lot of these women. I saw the video. At this point, I think it has over 700,000 or 800,000 views on YouTube. He was talking about women. And he was saying, you know, these women are out of control. The women want to be like men now. And this is disrupting. It's coming in between men and women. What's that?
The first things foremost, you got to understand. It has to get bad